Fire signs, how are you? Welcome to your new moon reading. So, if you skip to the fire sign timestamp, hello, how are you? I hope you're doing very, very well. We're going to use the Starseed Oracle just to pull a little bit of food for thought for you, just something to think about for the new moon. And we're going to use the Queen of the Moon Oracle to pull kind of a releasing card for you, what you might need to release, any kind of stragglers left over from the full moon, and then a card to see what we can set some new intentions on moving forward for this Pisces new moon. And then we're going to use the Rider-Waite just to clarify just a little bit for you. So we're going to go Leo, Aries, and then Sagittarius. So let's see. Always, we want to thank Father God for all of these messages, bringing them in for us today. 1 and then 3. Okay. Ooh, okay, interesting. So at the bottom of the deck, you guys got called. Soul gifts and training. It's time to step up. The water signs had the portal card, which is very similar. It's like this long corridor to reach this door opening, a portal, a leveling up of sorts. And with all of these kind of pictographs, these kind of hieroglyphics on the sides of these walls, something about accessing new depths for the fire signs of your Akashic records, like moving into the next phase of your blueprint, it feels like. So let's see. Leo, you have cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. What's so interesting in this card is that part of this cracked open, right, rock bottom, it sounds so chaotic, and you might be feeling like you're at a little bit of a lull point or a little bit of a low point right now. Maybe you feel like you're at rock bottom. But what's more interesting to me is that more than this destitute, desolate, her on the ground, writhing in pain and trauma, it seems like she's kind of cracking off the exterior of herself and just letting like her pure energetic essence kind of move through. It's the idea of not wanting to play roles anymore, not wanting to play the roles, not even just roles or boxes that other people put you in, but the idea of archetypes and characters and labels and boxes that you've put yourself in. Leo, I'm this kind of person. I do this kind of work. I do it this kind of way. This is what I like to do, right? And we're always growing and we're always changing. So who we are and what we like to do and what we think we want to do is always open to interpretation. It's always open to change as we move forward. And so it's this idea of taking off these external qualifiers, the external labels, what you think you are, who you think you are, and how you think you're supposed to do it. Kind of peeling that off of, right, as part of this death process, pulling that skin off of yourself and just letting your essence be, allowing yourself to just flow a little bit more. Surrender to the alchemy of life. So much, alchemy is magic. It's chemical transformation when we pull in all of these different elements. And it's this idea of, I'm this kind of soul, and people will respond best to me if I express myself in the natural in these particular ways. And when those ways aren't received or recognized or acknowledged in the way you want them to be, then becoming very frustrated, then hitting a little bit of that, I'm cracked open, I'm hitting rock bottom, I don't know what else to do, I don't know how to express myself, right? It's taking all of that off. That people have to see you in a certain way, that you have to see yourself in a certain way, and just allowing yourself to kind of go into a little bit more of that flow state, really allowing all of the water, right? Pisces Sun, Pisces Moon, Pisces Venus, Pisces Neptune, all of the water, not to put out your fire, but instead to allow you to kind of flow through it. They're almost showing me fire on top of water, if that makes any sense, right? And they're kind of saying like oil spill. And I don't think you're in any kind of environmental, illegalities. I don't think that that's what you're doing. But, they always, when they talk to me about oil, they talk a lot about the anointing, right? Like your purpose, what you're here to do so much. And instead of trying to take your anointing, your gifts, your skills, and your abilities and kind of present them in these very kind of methodical ways, right, that may or may not be received, instead allowing them to spread out, flow through a lot of different things and a lot of different kinds of expression, and seeing how that is much more expansive than you trying to kind of funnel them through these different particular avenues. Hope that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope that makes sense to you. It feels like a lot of this has to do with like monkey see, monkey do. And I'm pulling in like a lot of social media kind of energy as well. Ooh, Scorpio had that. A lot of like social media, like you know, if you're a spiritual person, this is how you've seen spiritual people do things, or seen them run their business, or see them put themselves out there, or their gifts and their abilities to other people, and how you don't feel as though perhaps you're receiving the same recognition for that than they do. And part of that is because there's a different way that you're meant to do it. So Scorpio had this card in their release as well, and that's wisdom. Card number 22. And what I had explained to them is that something that you might consider may need to be released because it may be acting as a blockage for you is what you assume you have already figured out. 22 is a master number, right? I've mastered this. I know how it gets done. I know how I'm supposed to do my healing work. I know how I'm supposed to present myself out there. I know if I want this kind of recognition or this kind of success or this kind of, if I want to do this kind of work or if I want this kind of relationship, then I've seen the blueprint already. I've seen how other people do it. So if I just follow that blueprint, right? If I just follow these lessons that have already been laid out for me, I'll be able to move my way up the ladder, get closer to my star, closer to my wishes, my fulfillment, right? I've already seen how the other masters have done it. It's very like following gurus kind of energy. I don't know if you're actually following a guru, but it's that kind of thing. I've already seen how other people have mastered this lesson and gotten over the hump and into the promised land. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that they did, because if it worked for them, it's got to work for me, right? But the idea is that like you're a different kind of person. Not everything that everyone does, they can provide clues, blueprints, right? But it's not always going to work that way for you because you need to follow a particular trail. Bless me. You need to follow a particular trail, Leo. So it's the idea of having to release the idea that you have it figured out and you know how it's supposed to go. You know the way that you're supposed to go, right? Again, trying to, releasing some of that tunnel vision. Even like they're bringing me in like science. Even when we think about science, right? This is a tunnel. This is a path. This is the way things are supposed to work. But all science is all theoretical. It's all hypothetical. Right? Does that make sense? And when new evidence is brought in, when a new experiment is enacted and it provides different results, well, now all of those other theories, now those get brought into question, right? And so when you experience something that's new or different, that brings everything that you learned, you thought you had mastered the wisdom of these lessons from other people because your individual experiment of your life, of your own experiences, right, comes into conflict with that. So now you're either in a position of having to crack out of their way of doing things and flow into your way of doing things, or continually compress yourself down, right? I hope that makes sense. Now, in your intentions, perhaps to be mindful of setting these new intentions moving forward is you have card number 34, breaks down to a 7. You have extremes. Extremes. Leos can be a little extreme. Very much like Aries. You know, you have all this sweat on your back. It's the idea of pushing yourselves to the extreme and then causing yourself distress and then causing yourself discomfort unnecessarily. Also denying yourself the refreshment with this water right here. Like, I feel like he should be grabbing this water. It's a hot moon. Like, I feel like he should be grabbing this water and refreshing himself, cooling down his internal body temperature, right? All of that fire burning up inside of you. That could be really attached to this cracked open feeling. Again, trying to live by other people's blueprints, their algorithms, how they do things. And when they don't happen, feeling this bubbling up inside of you. And instead of just kind of cleansing out the way other people do things, right? See how you have this book open just like here? It's like I studied everyone else's lessons and now I feel pressured because I'm doing what they're doing and it's not working for me. Instead, moving to another extreme. Maybe extreme is your balance. But maybe the idea is moving forward to set new intentions to move to the complete other end of the spectrum. Instead of going very, very hot, move to something that's cool. Again, the fire on the water kind of thing, kind of dipping into all of this imagination and the dreamy and the illusionary and all this fantastical energy. Instead of pushing against all of this Pisces energy, feeling like it's just going to make you soggy, instead allowing it to kind of soothe some of the burns that you might have been experiencing. Because 34 breaking down to a 7 means like perfect, like you're getting on the right track with this new moon, but it's having to switch to the other side of the pendulum, that you've been putting too much pressure on yourself, kind of reaching too much, like pulling muscles and denying yourself the refreshment that you need, right? And when we drink water, we also allow energy to flow more freely through us. Again, this expansiveness that to think, I mean, maybe you guys are dehydrated, you need to hydrate more, but I think part of this new moon intention for you is to allow your energy to flow more freely by not trying to put it in boxes or diagrams or algorithms that work for other people and don't work for you, because there's a different way that they want you to do this stuff that's not how other people do it. And there's something about a new standard. There's a new standard that wants to be kind of set through you that you're not recognizing right now. But it's actually going to make you feel way more astute and accomplished when it's all kind of said and done. When it's all said and done. That it's the idea of not going by other people's playbooks, that you're developing a new blueprint that hasn't been seen before. Ace of Wands. New ideas, new energy, new inspiration being handed to you. But it's like, no, that's not how everyone else does it. I don't want to do it that way. 5 of Swords. No, that's not how everyone else does it. I don't want to do it that way. 5 are a conflict. It's competition. And the Swords is all mental energy, right? It's all mental energy, playing these mental games, like having like a mental battle with yourself, right? And you're looking right at this Ace of Wands. You're like, well, I just got done doing what everyone else is doing. Now you want me to start doing something completely different? Yes, we do. Well, isn't that a waste of my time and effort? No, it's not, because you just gain skills and wisdom. Now you know how everybody does what they do. And now you know that you want to do something different. Because if you didn't really at some level want to do something different, you'd be happy where you are. But if you were happy where you are, then you wouldn't be in this position of trying to rip off the outer layers of that. There's something in your spirit that's asking for something new. But your mind, your logic tells you that that doesn't make sense. Just take the path that everyone else takes. Queen of Wands, right? And I wanted to flip out in reverse a little bit, and she flips right upright. It's the idea of being confident. And Leos normally don't have a problem being confident, but if it's whatever you're doing, if it feels like it's something that's a lot bigger than you or something that you're not super well versed or experienced in, it's normal to go and look monkey see, monkey do, like I said before, how other people do things, right? It's not a crime, right? But it doesn't mean that it's serving you the way that it needs to be. Again, now you know how everyone else does it. That's awesome. A lot of people aren't able to see on the other side of the fence how other things get done. But there's a lot of ways to make an omelet. And you're doing something a little bit different over here. And again, like I was saying, it's going to build a new sense of confidence in you, especially connected to your intuition. Allowing your intuition to lead you in places that your logic tells you that you shouldn't go. You can think yourself right out of your blessings. I've done it. You can do it. Your emotions can play you out of your position, and you can think yourself right out of like $1 million idea. Don't do it. So that's what I have for you. Speaking of water, maybe I should have some water. Did I drink any water today? No, I had 2 cups of coffee. I'm not on my 3rd cup yet. Aries. Breath of the cosmos. My will to thy will. Micromanaging the universe. Okay, Aries. So, it's a little bit self-explanatory. But what's very interesting to me in this card is this girl, she's kind of floating through the ethers, right? And it's almost as though she's speaking out her intentions, right? Her heart's desires. This is what I want. This is what I want to manifest. This is what I want. And it kind of goes up and it expands outwardly, because things in the spirit are always very big, and then they come down very, very small into the natural. But it's the idea of feeling so suspended in time until things come down into the natural, that for some of you might be feeling as though, well, I can't move and I can't make any advancements and I can't transform my life because these things haven't come in for me yet. Again, micromanaging. Like, when you come in and bring me my person, when I'll learn how to love again. I'll believe that love is an option. It's available for me. When I have my breakthrough, when my business takes off, then I'll know that's what I'm really supposed to be doing, right? It's micromanaging instead of, that's why we say we walk by faith and not by sight, because things are established in the spirit before they come into the natural. They're established in the spirit. We, in our spirits, have to come into an agreement, into an alignment with it. And when that happens, they lock in together and then they trickle down into the natural. And that's when you see the physical manifestation of it. So it's like, I almost feel as though she has like a clock, like a watch on her wrist. And she's like, well, when you come in and bring this, then I'll know that it's for me. I'll know that I'm supposed to have love. I'll know that I'm supposed to go in this direction. As if all of the signs and the synchronicities and the angel numbers and the dreams and the this and the that, like as if they already weren't like enough, as if they already weren't enough. And I did that video a while ago called Faith in Motion, that, sometimes we think faith is a very passive thing. And oftentimes it is, because we're often in we're in waiting time seasons. You can tell I haven't filmed in a week. We're in like waiting room seasons. But oftentimes there's an aspect of faith in motion, that you take a step. Scorpio had this a little bit as well. Scorpio's all over the place. That, you take a step and then God brings you the rest of the way. That's how it really works. That faith in motion, right, is more powerful than passive faith. And I'm actually noticing, and I've never noticed in this card, is that there's a little Jupiter. There's a little Jupiter hanging out like right up here. And it's also like speaking out that like, I want good luck. Like I want good fortune. Like it feels like very Wheel of Fortune energy. I want things to start like turning in my favor. When things start turning in my favor, then I'll start moving. And that's micromanaging the universe. It's the idea of when it's like an act of good faith on your part, Aries, I think is something to think about or consider. You don't have to listen to me, but just something to consider for yourself for this new moon is that if you're asking for things, whatever it is for you, love, business, purpose, it's going to be so different for all of you. There's a lot of Aries here. That these are a lot of things to ask for, and it's God's good pleasure to do them for you. But you in and of yourself need to also show the universe a sign of good faith, and then take small baby steps towards it, right? Which will also keep you a little bit busy and occupied while these things are coming in for yourself. You ever have like been waiting for a big manifestation and all of a sudden your angels and your guides start telling you to do like random things, starts taking up time and you don't really understand why? It's because they want you to do something productive with your time, like while you're waiting for these things to come in for yourself, right? So that way you're not strangling the energy. It seems like it's something just to think about. Are you doing this? We've all been there. We've all done it. I've done it a million times. Been like, scale back, Lauren. So it's just something to think about for you, Aries. To, when we ask for these big things, to also show God in the universe, right? Act of good faith on our part too, and taking small baby steps towards it, right? Just something to think about. So something that might need to be released or just considered. You have attraction, card number 44, which is a card about empowerment. And it's the idea of trying to, again, micromanage, like force the magnetic pull of yourself, trying to overly manifest, because sometimes when we do that, it actually denotes a feeling of actually not being super deserving or super worthy of the things that we're asking for, right? I'm asking for it because like I want it, and I believe that, it's in God's goodwill to give it to me, right? To bless me with it. I would like it, and he would like me to have it. And so he'll give it to me in the right time, in the right season, when we feel like we don't really deserve it, or we're not worthy of it, or God isn't going to bless us with it. Sometimes we go in that energy of trying to pull it in. I almost see here with the rope, like trying to pull in the manifestation. I'm going to light all these candles and I'm going to set a dollar bill on fire and I'm going to visualize it so hard and I'm going to, right? It's this idea of, you're not going to give it to me. So like, I have to take it. I have to micromanage it, right? I have to do it then because you're not going to do it, which also denotes a lack of faith a little bit, right? Which we all struggle with. You only need faith like a mustard seed, but it's something about that might need to be, potentially considered to be released. It's something that could be acting as a blockage for you. And 44 is a master number for me. Always talks about empowerment, being empowered in the idea, right? That like you are worthy and you are deserving of the things that you actually desire in your heart, and they will be given to you in the right time and in the right season. You don't have to take it, right? The society tells you if you want it, you have to take it. You have to go out there and you have to get it. But that's not how blessings work. You can't earn them. You can't order them. You can't take them. They're given to you, right? As God gives freely to you, and then you go on and you give to others freely. You don't have to do all that and be empowered in that knowledge that you just have to be in agreement that what you want, God wants for you too, and he'll bless you with it in the right time and in the right season. And you don't have to sit there almost like, again, watching the clock, trying to like pull it in, like your ship. Your ship's going back out to sea. Like they're always coming in for you. Glory to glory you move from. And releasing, or really even just thinking about where that feeling comes from. Yeah, I have to take it and I have to do all, right? That might come from the feeling of I don't deserve it or I'm not worthy of it. Or for some of you growing up perhaps, or in, your adolescent years, if you wanted something, right, it wasn't freely given to you. You had to beg for it. You had to plead for it. You had to bust your ass. Like you had to, you know what I mean? You had to like do the most for it because people didn't want to give it to you. So you had to take it. But that's not how God works. That's not how universal energy works. It's not how spiritual law works. And it's really having to redefine that in your head, that you're operating under a different legal system, a different spiritual legal system than the social contracts of man. So in your intentions quarter, we have assessing, card number 9. 9 talks about the inner work, Aries. So something that might be mindful, something you might want to consider setting your intentions on, is how to better assess things. See how she's in this hot air balloon? There's like an ascension aspect, right? Taking almost like giraffe spirit, getting a higher perspective with this little periscope that she has as well. And it seems like it's pointed right at this moon. And moon represents things that are hidden, things that aren't readily known to us, things we still aren't really aware of. Being able to better assess that, things that we don't know about, even if it's when things are going to come in or when things are going to happen or if they're going to happen for us. And taking a higher perspective, being able to assess them more accurately and not allowing them to inspire feelings of fear or anxiety, which then make our ego want to then flare up and then try and take it right before it's really ripe. Pluck that fruit off the tree before it's really ripe enough for us to eat it, which sometimes we do, right? Which then just kind of sets us back a little bit. And all of this beautiful purple coloring, again, that talks about your crown chakra. You might be a little too much in your body, in your impulses right now, and instead needing to move more into your spirit, more into your crown chakra, more into the intuitive aspects, because it feels like, at least for this full moon, that the more physical aspects of your desires are superseding the more intuitive aspects of you sensing what seasons are for which things, So this is just something to be mindful of. You might want to set your intentions for the new moon on things such as clarity, discernment, patience, taking a higher perspective, right? Having a greater ease and flow, surrendering to it, and also working on feelings of worthiness and deserving, right? Feeling empowered that God wants for me what I want for myself, so I don't have to try and take it. Beautiful. You have the Death card coming out. This is all about transformation, right? And it's card number 13. And people oftentimes think that 13 is an unlucky number, but in the tarot, it's actually quite serendipitous, because this looks like a skeleton, but it may as well be a butterfly, right? That some of these situations that feel very uncomfortable for you, right? There's actually quite a silver lining. That it might feel like it's taking so long to come in. This is the death of my dreams. It's never going to happen. What actually is happening is that, you know, you're really busting out of the chrysalis. These things are being prepared for you. God doesn't want to present you with something that is not a perfect and completed work, something that you have to then add things to because it doesn't hit all the marks, right? He wants to make sure it's all good to go, and then here you go, Aries. And that out of some of these situations that might seem frustrating, trying to micromanage them, they might seem uncomfortable, that in actuality, they're quite serendipitous. They actually are good luck. They're blessings in disguise. And I think after the fact, you may realize and look back at some of these moments and go, you know what, actually, I'm glad that I had to wait X amount of time for this thing to come in, because had it been given to me then, I would have then micromanaged my blessing. I would have held on to it maybe a little bit too tight, right? I would have squeezed it out of fear and I wouldn't have another blessing coming after that, right? I needed to heal more. I needed to learn more. I needed to release and surrender a little bit more. I'm glad that it came in a little bit later down the road because I was more apt to handle it, to appreciate it now that I have this higher perspective, that it feels like a blessing and not just like a piece in my survival, if that makes any sense to you. Judgment, wow. Okay, Arcana. Okay, Major Arcana, I see you. This talks about resurrection. And also a positive judgment as well. Might have been something I've been going through for like 8 years, perhaps. And 8 is a very karmic number. It talks about infinity, yes, but it's a very karmic number. Because I'm seeing the 20, and I'm seeing the 13, 2013 to 2021. It's about 8 years. If that's the case, I could see why it'd be so frustrating for you. But like I said, judgment is a resurrection energy, and it's a positive judgment call for you. So there's a transformation, right? There's a divine angel coming in saying that, yes, these things are. And look, I almost say like this little periscope that you have, looking a little bit like this trumpet. It's like looking out, and when being able to get this higher perspective and being able to stay more in tune with what the spirit is doing is going to allow you to be able to see when these how the transformation is occurring in your life currently, and how that's leading you towards the renewal in a lot of aspects. And we are moving into spring, right? And spring talks all about rebirth and renewal. And what is the positive judgment and the resurrection of? The 5 of Pentacles, areas in your life where you felt a little cast out, where you felt a little rejected, where you felt maybe a little bit alone, unsupported, out in the cold. Again, spring, the thawing out of all of these energies. And so it's like, just like you cannot micromanage a natural season, you can't go outside and just tell the flowers to grow. It takes a little bit of time, yes? It's the same thing with your life. So it's just something to be mindful of, just something to think about. Take it or leave it, Aries. You know how it is. Ooh. Ooh, Sagittarius. You got my throat chakra going. So, Saggy, you got the love, Hadarian energy, codependencies, and boundaries. This card always looks like a time lapse to me. You know, like one of those movie montages and then someone's like, like thinking like all up in their head. That's what this card always looks like to me. Codependency and boundaries. For some of you, you could have thought that you would like establish some boundaries. Maybe because people upset you, but not correlating the codependent aspect in with it. This person upset me, this person hurt me, so I'm going to create a boundary between me and that person. I said a boundary, good for me. But not necessarily maybe correlating the ways in which you yourself were acting in a codependent fashion that maybe wasn't the healthiest either. There is something about that. And how you got the love, you still are loved, you are still lovable, even if you don't got the love that originally you had wanted with a particular person, because love is an energy, right? It's a feeling of freedom, a feeling home, feeling comfortable, a feeling accepted, right? At ease, seen. And that's a feeling that has to come from in here, and maybe recognizing perhaps that there have been aspects of yourself that weren't able to recognize that in you, and so you were potentially projecting it outwardly onto other people, thereby co-creating a codependent situation. And so while you maybe have set a boundary between you and other people, or you and another person, because there's still that dynamic wrestling within you, you have not set a boundary between, like a healthy boundary between that energy and yourself. You can separate yourself from that person, but if the dynamic, if that narrative is still inside of you, that person can be gone, but those feelings still exist inside of you. And so you're really needing to be mindful and thoughtful, kind of having to go back through the montage for yourself a little bit, and recognize that like you still have love, are loved, are lovable, even if that love isn't still in your life anymore. And how potentially those feelings of unworthiness or codependency projected outwardly from you, and even though those people maybe aren't in your life, that you're still dealing with that internally, which is why you still don't potentially feel any better. Now, in your release corner, we have discernment, and it came out in reverse, and I actually really want to take that in reverse, and I don't normally take these cards in reverse. And this is something that, you know, take it as you will, Saggy, but something that you might want to consider could still be acting as a blockage for you is not being able to properly discern people, situations. That's very interesting. Okay, so you see how her eyes are cloaked, not seeing things properly from the right perspective, allowing the emotional aspects of yourself to kind of cloud, these are literally clouds, cloud your judgment on who is and is not good for you, good to be in your life, complementary to your energy as well. Because there are so many people that you can love, you can enjoy, you want them in your life, but the energetic exchange between you guys actually isn't complementary. It's more of a hindrance than a help. And I know this sounds funny, but it's me. Right above your head, doesn't it look like fruity pebbles? Like fruity pebbles. It's the idea of allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment, so you're not seeing things properly, and instead just imagining things being light and fun and free, like kids candy syrup, right? Like fruity pebbles. It's like rejecting what your intuition is actually telling you. It's, what is that, Mythbusters? I reject your reality and I substitute my own. And how that isn't allowing you to actually act in a discerning way, make appropriate decisions, say no when you need to say no, and say yes when you need to say yes. And that might be something that has been acting as a blockage for you that you might want to look into during this new moon, because especially all this Pisces energy talks about dreams and fantasies and like all of that kind of stuff. But the reason why Pisces energy sometimes has a hard time manifesting into the natural is because there's a discerning, balanced, practical approach as well. That there's no reason why you can't have exactly what you have, but the reality is you can't have it with all of these people. And that sucks, right? But we can't just try and convince ourselves that we can, force that to happen, tell ourselves that the situation is fruity pebbles when in actuality it's raisin bran, and then allow ourselves to be let down, heartbroken, feeling rejected and abandoned, right? When it turns out that it's like stale raisin bran instead of the fruity pebbles, the cocoa pebbles that we want, right? And it's the idea that, again, we're projecting potentialities onto people that they may or may not be able to meet on their own. Just because we can recognize a potential in someone, and the potential of what that someone and you can be, doesn't make it actually so, right? It's like you can look at a student and go, you have a lot of potential, you can really go far, kid, but the fact that you can see that in them doesn't mean that they'll actually meet that unless they then apply themselves, right? How many of us were kids that everyone used to say, if you only just applied yourself, right? We'd all have gone to Harvard. So there's something in that. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of the analogy, the parable that they're giving me, right? You can look at a situation, you can look at a person and see the potential in them and the potential of what you guys can be. But if they don't apply themselves, everyone has free will. If that's not what they want, whatever, you know, then it doesn't mean that's what it's going to be. So we have to kind of see things for what they are, but know that just because something is a certain way doesn't mean that we can't still get what we want, but it just might be in a different place. It just might be in a different phase, and it might actually turn out even better than originally what we thought we wanted. So just something for you to think about. Potential release. Beautiful. So, intentions for this new moon, snow moon, purity, fleece as white as snow. You know, and the interesting thing is that her eyes are covered too, but there's all of this. Snow represents purity. It also represents new beginnings, but beginnings always are preceded by endings as well. And she has all of this like wheat in her hand, and wheat is very indicative of male or female Empress energy, which is being worthy and deserving, and kind of a magnet for blessings and abundance, right? Being divinely able to receive. And I think, and it's card number 30. And 3s break down to collaboration, the beginning of new stages, the beginning of new seasons. It's also number of the divine, the Trinity, right? So it's the idea of not needing to know exactly, because sometimes when we leave these stages, we feel like we have to know exactly what we're doing next and exactly who we're going to and who's going to take the place and what's going to take the place of the last thing. And oftentimes we don't know that. But it's the idea of, even though we're not able necessarily to know who's coming next, what's coming next, just to know that it's a new beginning and to allow yourself to be comforted by the fact that you can sit in Empress energy, male or female, that you can receive exactly what it is that you need. And giving yourself like a clean slate. There's something about setting intentions for clean slates. Purifying. It's like, again, a blank canvas, even in what you imagine. Because here it's like, again, you have fruity pebbles, you have a cloud, you have a mood. It's like all these expectations, kind of releasing all of that. Keeping your head covered, which means keeping your thoughts free of like negativity, self-deprecation, self-sabotage, anything that's going to tell you that, you know, you aren't worthy or deserving for the things that you really want deep down in your heart, but also allowing the kind of snow to fall and create like a blank canvas, a blank slate for yourself. The other thing about visualization techniques might be very helpful for you with this new moon, visualizing like literally like a blank slate. Like, maybe just like in your house, just imagining like all of the furniture out of your house, like all of the walls painted like white or beige, and then yeah, it's something like that, like visualizing clean slate. Maybe when you're in the shower, visualizing like everything washing off of you. It's just something to think about, like new intentions. If there's anything also still like lingering around perhaps for you, 10 of Wands in reverse. If there's anything still lingering around energetically from old people, places, and things that don't bring you joy or don't inspire happy, fond memories, consider purging it out too. There's like a spring cleaning kind of energy for this new moon for you as well. And the 10 of Wands just talks about releasing burdens, right? Because the thing about this guy is that where he's going is not that far. What you want is really not that far away from you, but you can't get there carrying all of these narratives, carrying anger, carrying resentment, carrying heartbreak. It's like you'll get there, but it's going to take you so much longer. So by wiping the slate clean for yourself, you get to drop all these sticks and kind of regain your energy, because the Page of Wands in reverse kind of denotes like a lack of energy and a lack of inspiration. But the Knight of Wands is coming in. Knights bring messages, and it feels like good news. It feels like good news for some reason. Something to get you excited, but you're a little bit defensive of it. And the Knight of Pentacles and the Fool. Okay, so again, you're releasing all of these burdens, but something about having to release some of these burdens, Saggy, might make you feel a little forlorn, might make you feel a little uninspired. It's like, well, now what? Now that I have a blank slate, like, now what do I do? Kind of thing. But it's like the Knight of Wands kind of wants to come in and give you some kind of passion or inspiration, or give you something to be like excited about or excited for. But because you're in a little bit of a defensive position right now, you might not be able to notice it, right? A little guarded, a little blindfold. Again, it's all this blindfold. You can't see. It's like you gotta rub your eyes a little bit, baby. You gotta put your glasses on. But underneath that is the Knight of Pentacles. What you are not seeing, again, this could be signs and synchronicities from your angels trying to get you excited, seeing angel numbers and all of that kind of stuff, and you're like, what are these? You're really gonna show me 1111 again? But what you don't see coming, and you're a little bit defensive against the knowledge of it coming, is the Knight of Pentacles, which is someone or something that's taken a very long time to get there, because the Knight of Pentacles moves slowly, but when they get there, they have something really substantial to offer, right? And there's the Fool energy underneath that all you have to do is just allow yourself to have a clean slate, believe that you're worthy of the things that you actually want, believe that God wants you to have it as well, and really have faith, because then you have the Ace of Swords underneath that. And once you do that, you're going to have all the clarity that you need with the Six of Cups, which is the soulmate energy, right underneath that. Right? Right. So food for thought, Saggy. So, thank you guys for joining me. I'm going to move over to the air signs. So, if you're sticking with me for the air signs, let's hop on over there. If I leave you here, fire signs, thank you very much for joining me. It's good to be back. I very much hope that these were helpful for you. I love you so much, and I very much appreciate you. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.